It all began in a small town where family ties seemed unbreakable and trust was something you never questioned. Amelia had always looked up to her younger sister, Claire. They shared secrets, dreams, and even their clothes. But Amelia never imagined that the one thing she cherished most, her relationship, would be the very thing her sister would betray. Amelia was engaged to Daniel, a man she thought was her soulmate. Their love story was like a fairy tale, filled with long walks under the stars, whispered promises, and a sparkling diamond ring that sealed their future. She believed Daniel was the one person who truly understood her heart. But Claire, beautiful and cunning, had always lived in Amelia's shadow. She envied her sister's grace, her intelligence, and now, her happiness. She wanted what Amelia had, and she was willing to take it, no matter the cost. The betrayal unfolded slowly, almost invisibly. It began with subtle glances between Claire and Daniel, small touches that Amelia dismissed as harmless. She trusted them both too much to suspect the storm that was coming. One evening, just weeks before Amelia's wedding, Claire confessed. With a cold expression, she admitted that she and Daniel had fallen in love. Amelia's world shattered in that single moment. She felt as though the ground beneath her had been ripped away. The wedding was called off. Invitations were cancelled. Amelia hid away, her heart torn into pieces. What hurt her most wasn't losing Daniel, it was losing her sister's loyalty. Blood had betrayed blood, and nothing would ever be the same again. Claire and Daniel married not long after. It was a rushed affair, lacking the warmth Amelia once dreamed of. But the town buzzed with whispers, judging eyes following Claire wherever she went. People pitied Amelia, believing her life was ruined forever. For 3 long years, Amelia vanished from the social scene. She focused on herself, traveling, working tirelessly, and building a life from scratch. The pain never fully disappeared, but she refused to let bitterness define her. In her journey, she met Ethan. He wasn't just any man, he was a visionary entrepreneur, a self-made billionaire with a heart as kind as his ambition was fierce. Unlike Daniel, Ethan valued loyalty and honesty above all else. Their connection was instant, like two souls recognizing each other across a crowded room. Ethan admired Amelia's strength, her resilience after betrayal. And Amelia found in him a love deeper and truer than she had ever known. Within a year, they were married. But Amelia kept her new life private, away from gossip and the people who had once pitied her. She didn't need to prove anything, her happiness was proof enough. The turning point came when a grand charity gala was announced in the city. The event promised to gather the most influential people, and as fate would have it, both Amelia and Claire were invited. Claire had been struggling in her marriage. Daniel, once charming, had grown distant, weighed down by financial troubles and broken promises. Their love, built on betrayal, had started to crumble. On the night of the gala, Claire walked in wearing a designer dress she could barely afford, clinging to Daniel's arm for appearances. They were determined to look flawless, though cracks were visible if one looked close enough. And then, the room froze. Amelia entered, radiant in a gown that shimmered under the chandelier light. By her side was Ethan, tall, confident, and commanding attention effortlessly. The couple exuded power and elegance, an image of success and true love. Claire's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat as she realized who Ethan was. This wasn't just any man, he was the billionaire making headlines, the one people admired and envied. And he was Amelia's husband. Daniel's face turned pale. For the first time, he understood the gravity of what he had lost. He had traded Amelia's loyalty for Claire's fleeting allure, and now he stood in the shadow of her dazzling new life. Whispers filled the hall as guests connected the pieces of the story. Some remembered Amelia's heartbreak years ago, and now they watched her return stronger, brighter, and more untouchable than ever. Claire tried to smile, but her envy burned so fiercely it nearly consumed her. She had stolen Amelia's fiancé, only to be left with a failing marriage. And now, Amelia stood before her as the woman everyone admired. Ethan introduced Amelia with pride, his hand never leaving hers. It was clear to everyone in the room that his love for her was genuine, not built on lies or betrayal. Throughout the night, Claire couldn't take her eyes off her sister. Every laugh Amelia shared with Ethan felt like a dagger twisting in her chest. For once, she was the one standing in the shadows. Daniel, too, couldn't escape the shame. He realized too late that love built on deceit can never survive. Amelia had moved on, rising far beyond his reach. The gala ended, but the memory of that night would haunt Claire and Daniel forever. They had taken everything from Amelia once, but destiny had given it all back to her in a way they could never have imagined. Amelia never gloated. She didn't need to. Her very presence was proof that life had not only healed her but rewarded her for her pain. Later that evening, as Ethan and Amelia left hand in hand, Claire watched them disappear into the night. Her heart ached with regret, but she knew it was too late to undo what she had done. Amelia had everything she had once dreamed of, and more. She was loved, respected, and cherished. And most importantly, she was free from the chains of betrayal. Claire, on the other hand, was trapped in the life she had chosen. She had gambled with her sister's happiness and lost her own in the process. The sisters would never return to what they once were. The bond was broken forever, replaced by silence and distance. Amelia, though, no longer mourned what was lost. She had grown, transformed, and built a life where betrayal had no place. Ethan often reminded her of her strength. It was their loss, he would whisper, holding her close. And Amelia knew he was right. The story of that night at the gala spread far and wide. People admired Amelia's resilience, her rise from heartbreak to happiness. She became a symbol of strength to many who had suffered betrayal. For Claire and Daniel, however, that night was a mirror reflecting their choices. They couldn't escape the truth. They had destroyed something pure, only to be left with nothing. 3 years after her world had collapsed, Amelia stood taller than ever before. Her story was no longer one of betrayal, it was one of triumph. And as she looked at Ethan, her heart at peace, she knew she had finally won, not through revenge, but through living a life of love and dignity. The betrayal had been painful, but it had also been the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where Amelia discovered her worth, her strength, and a love far greater than she had ever imagined. The past no longer defined her. Her future was hers to own, and it was brighter than anything she had once dreamed. Amelia's story wasn't about what was taken from her. It was about what she built in its place, an unshakable love, a powerful partnership, and a life that left those who wronged her standing frozen in regret. Because sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply living well. Amelia was the kind of woman people naturally admired. She was graceful, intelligent, and carried herself with quiet confidence. Growing up, she was the eldest daughter of the Bennett family, always expected to set an example. Her younger sister, Claire, was the opposite, impulsive, bold, and used to getting what she wanted. Despite the differences, Amelia always loved her sister deeply. She protected her, helped her with school, and even lent her money when Claire's reckless choices caught up with her. Amelia believed family bonds were unbreakable. When Amelia met Daniel, she thought her life was finally complete. Daniel was charming, attentive, and seemed devoted to her. He brought her flowers, planned elaborate dates, and whispered promises of forever. Amelia believed him with all her heart. Claire, however, had always been envious. Amelia was the one praised by relatives, admired by neighbors, and cherished by friends. Claire felt invisible in comparison. When she saw the way Daniel looked at Amelia, her jealousy only grew stronger. What began as innocent teasing soon shifted into something darker. Claire started helping Amelia with wedding plans, spending time with Daniel under the guise of supporting her sister. Amelia thought nothing of it, she trusted them both completely. But behind closed doors, Claire began to weave her web. She listened to Daniel's frustrations, played the role of confidant, and subtly placed herself as the better choice. She was dangerous because she wore a mask of sisterly love. Weeks before the wedding, Amelia walked into the kitchen to find Claire and Daniel sitting too close, their hands brushing. She laughed it off nervously, convincing herself it was nothing. She couldn't have imagined the betrayal that was about to unfold. The truth exploded one evening when Claire confessed. With chilling calmness, she said she and Daniel were in love. Daniel stood silently, unable to deny it. Amelia's heart broke in that instant, shattering into pieces she thought she'd never gather again. The wedding was cancelled. The invitations were burned. Amelia's dreams dissolved into smoke. Her family was torn apart, unable to understand how Claire could do such a thing. Claire and Daniel rushed into marriage soon after. But their union lacked warmth. It was built on stolen affection, not trust. The town gossiped, pitying Amelia and criticizing Claire's betrayal. Amelia disappeared. For 3 years, she poured herself into work, traveling to new countries, and discovering her own strength. Pain was her companion, but she refused to let it destroy her. In those travels, she met Ethan. He was unlike anyone she had ever known, confident but humble, wealthy but kind. A billionaire who had built his empire from nothing, Ethan valued honesty above all else. Their connection was instant. Ethan admired Amelia's resilience, and she admired his vision and heart. For the first time since Daniel's betrayal, Amelia felt truly seen. Within a year, they were married in an intimate ceremony surrounded by close friends. Amelia didn't flaunt her new life, she guarded it like a precious jewel. Meanwhile, Claire's marriage was crumbling. Daniel's charm had faded, replaced by bitterness and financial struggles. He was no longer the man she had stolen, he was just a shadow of himself. Claire regretted her choices often, though she never admitted it aloud. She had taken Amelia's happiness, only to find her own slipping away. Then came the charity gala. It was the social event of the year, promising glitz, glamour, and powerful connections. Claire insisted she and Daniel attend, desperate to maintain appearances. The night arrived. Claire wore a gown she couldn't truly afford, her smile plastered on as she clung to Daniel's arm. They walked into the grand hall, pretending to be a power couple. And then the room shifted. Silence fell as Amelia entered, radiant in a breathtaking gown, her hand resting gently on Ethan's arm. Together, they looked like royalty. Claire froze. Her mouth went dry as she realized Amelia's husband wasn't just any man, he was Ethan Carter, the billionaire making headlines across the globe. Daniel turned pale, his eyes darting between Amelia and Ethan. He remembered Amelia's quiet strength and realized with brutal clarity that he had thrown away something priceless. Guests whispered excitedly. Many remembered the scandal of Amelia's broken engagement. Now they saw her return, stronger and more powerful than ever, standing beside a man who adored her. Claire tried to smile, but jealousy and regret consumed her. She had stolen Amelia's past, but Amelia's present outshone anything she could ever have. Ethan introduced Amelia with pride, his gaze never leaving hers. Every gesture showed his devotion. Their love was real, unshakable, and everyone in the room could see it. As the evening continued, Claire couldn't tear her eyes away. Every laugh, every touch between Amelia and Ethan felt like a knife in her heart. Daniel drank heavily, unable to face the humiliation of standing in Amelia's presence. He realized too late that he had built his life on betrayal, and now, it was crumbling. For Amelia, the night was bittersweet. She didn't seek revenge. She didn't need it. Simply existing in her happiness was enough. As the music played, Ethan leaned close and whispered, "You've won without ever fighting." Amelia smiled softly, knowing he was right. The gala ended, but the memory lingered. Claire replayed every second in her mind, haunted by the sight of her sister's triumph. From that night on, Claire's envy grew like poison. She couldn't escape the image of Amelia's radiant smile, the life she now lived, and the love she now had. Daniel, too, spiraled further into regret. He had gambled with Amelia's heart and lost. No amount of excuses could erase the truth. Amelia, however, thrived. She continued building her life with Ethan, traveling, supporting charities, and becoming a symbol of resilience. The world admired her story, not of betrayal, but of transformation. She had turned her pain into strength, her heartbreak into triumph. Claire faded into the background. The glamour she once craved slipped away, replaced by whispers of regret. Her marriage deteriorated, leaving her alone with her choices. Amelia, though, never looked back. She knew some wounds never fully healed, but she had grown beyond them. Her love with Ethan only deepened with time. Together, they built not just wealth, but a life full of meaning, respect, and loyalty. Claire occasionally thought of apologizing, but pride held her back. Instead, she carried her envy silently, watching from afar as Amelia shined. Daniel, too, kept his distance, though the weight of his mistakes followed him everywhere. He couldn't escape the truth of what he had lost. Years later, Amelia reflected on it all. She realized her greatest victory wasn't marrying a billionaire, it was finding herself again after being broken. She learned that betrayal could destroy, but it could also rebuild. And what she rebuilt was stronger than anything that came before. Her story spread like wildfire, told in whispers at gatherings and admired by strangers. She became living proof that true justice doesn't come through revenge, it comes through living well. Ethan often reminded her, "You are more than what they took from you." And Amelia believed it. The betrayal was a scar, but no longer a wound. It was part of her past, not her present. As she held Ethan's hand one evening, watching the sun set over their villa, she knew her life had come full circle. Claire had taken her fiancé, but life had given her something far greater, a partner, a love, and a future built on truth. Claire remained trapped in regret, forever haunted by the choices she made. Amelia, meanwhile, lived in peace. She had risen, she had triumphed, and she had shown the world that the sweetest revenge is not destruction, it is happiness. And in the end, the story wasn't about betrayal at all. It was about survival, rebirth, and a woman who refused to let her pain define her. Because no matter what had been taken, Amelia had built a life so radiant that even those who wronged her could only stand frozen, watching, wishing, regretting, and that was victory enough.